The Salem witch trials occurred in colonial Massachusetts between 1692 and 1693. More than 200 people, mostly women, were accused of practicing witchcraft. 20 were executed. When a woman spoke out more than the ordinary and stepped out of her role as homemaker, mother, and wife, people started calling it the work of the devil, thus leading to an accusation of witchcraft. Eventually, the colony admitted that the trials were a mistake and compensated the families of those that were convicted. Since then, the story of the innocent victims still captures our imagination. Today, the Salem Witch House, among other Salem museums, stands as a kind of memorial with an intent to educate the public on our dark history.
All right, my name is Rachel Christ. I'm the Director of Education. I've been working here for about 3.5 years. So our mission is to be the voice for the innocent victims of the Salem witch trials of 1692. So that entails telling the story, getting as much information about 1692 out there as possible, but also ensuring that things like this don't continue to happen in the future. So to that end, we talk about modern day witch hunts, how witch hunts follow a specific formula, so a pattern of behavior. So we talk about modern day examples like communism and the Red Scare, Senator Joseph McCarthy, Japanese internment after World War II, things like that. So it kind of all blends together in the telling of the story. Yeah, so the museum, the Salem Witch Museum, was founded in 1972. The building itself actually has a very cool, very long history. It's actually from the 19th century. It was the Second Unitarian Church of Salem. It has been a variety of things. Once the congregation disbanded in the early 20th century, it was abandoned for a while. Then it became a car museum, which is kind of strange considering the layout of this building. And then it became the Witch Museum in the 70s. So we're just now approaching our 50th anniversary in just a couple of years. And we've gone through a variety of shifts in the museum. Our presentation is quite old. It's based on scholarship from the 70s, so part of our 50th anniversary is updating the main presentation so that it's as up to date with current scholarship as possible. Our second exhibit is a bit newer. It's from the 90s, so still about 20 years old at this point. So that is also in the process of being updated, which is kind of our newest phase to meet our new anniversary. Good question. I personally, my background is in European witchcraft, so that's kind of my favorite part. The second exhibit does this brief overview of European witchcraft, which is the background to Salem's witchcraft outbreak, because the Salem witch trials actually come pretty late in the history of witchcraft in total. The beliefs in witchcraft and witch hunts had been going on for several hundred years when the Salem trials happened. So I think that's kind of the fascinating part about it, learning about where all of these belief systems came from, what affected them, how people came to believe that an individual could truly gain magical powers if you made a pact with the devil. It's pretty fascinating stuff, so it's definitely never boring. Absolutely. Salem's blessed with a lot of really interesting history about the Salem witch trials, but about a variety of other things. Like the House of Seven Gables is an amazing museum. They talk about Nathaniel Hawthorne's life. They talk about very early America living in Salem, the maritime history. The Peabody Essex Museum is also a fantastic museum. The Witch House is really one of the only 17th century Salem witch trial artifacts that's open to the public. The house itself is from the time one of the judges who presided over the trials lived there. So that's a very cool place to go. It's a really interesting place to walk through and get a sense of what it would have been like to be an upper class citizen living in Salem, way back when in the 17th century. So. So this time of year is relatively quiet. We're starting to approach our busy season, so it's April, so a lot of schools have April vacations, so we have weeks when we're very busy and then weeks when we're not busy at all, and it's contingent on, when people are taking their vacations. As soon as May starts to roll around, we're gonna get busier. The summer is usually a very busy time, and then October is complete insanity, so it's like night and day. Salem has a lot of really other interesting pieces of its history. Things like, early military history developing here. We've got a massive maritime history. And there are national park services set up around in a couple of areas where you can go and learn more about the maritime history and things like that. So I think just kind of the port city aspect of it is something that gets really overshadowed. And the witch trials history is obviously fascinating, and I'm a big proponent of it. But I don't know, I think you get a very balanced experience if you take the time to really take in every part of the city. So.
We are going to show you the witchcraft trials which took place in Salem village in 1692. Do you believe in witches? Millions of your ancestors did. Worship of the powers of evil, of the forces behind storm and sickness and drought and death was man's first religion, and the witch was its priestess. Long after Christianity had come, it survived in secret. On the witches' Sabbath, the covens of 13 would gather round their magic 9-foot circle. The fire would be lit beneath the cauldron. The scourge and pentacle and athame, a black-handled sacrificial knife.